good if you're
It's like
kind
you
of
got
on
a
there.
ferret tail or something in my face.
Yeah, I got this company called OG Wraps. They're gonna send me a bunch of shit to like wrap all this up. I saw some stuff and they were like, "Yeah, we can make it look cleaner."
Nice.
And the stuff is pretty dope looking, so I'm looking forward to it showing up.
Is it gonna like have your logo and stuff on it?
Yeah, it's gonna have like their logo.
Oh, and then it just cleans up. You don't see all the wires.
You don't see all the wires and everything I'm trying to keep off of there.
Nice.
So, hey, real quick, we should talk about what I got going on though right here. For Tight Lines for Troops, I've got this hat on. It's like, the fuck is this? Like a fisherman hat?
Fisherman hat or boonie hat.
Yeah.
You can call it whatever you want. Grandpa hat, fudgy hat, whatever.
You can buy these things for all the money goes towards Tight Lines for Troops. Like this hat here, you can get at Third Life Brewery. If you buy this hat at Third Life, you get $1 beer. So that's pretty cool.
That's a great deal.
Yeah, and these koozies you can get at Manistee Barber, Jamie Catlett.
Yeah.
She's selling these. If you buy these there, looks like you get a free haircut.
Yeah, is it a free hair?
It's a free haircut, dude.
Is it a free haircut? I know she's got something else going on, too. That's kind of cool.
What's that?
I don't know the exact date, and I said I was all worried about my dates here, but she is doing, like, mohawks and mullets for Tight Lines.
Well, that's kind of funny.
Yeah,
like
and
that.
it's like it's on a Saturday only for a few hours. But if you go in and you get a mohawk or a mullet, then that money goes towards Tight Lines. It's part of their whole little deal they got going on here.
That's pretty fresh.
Yeah. I don't have enough hair to go get a mohawk, mullet or a mohawk, but I would if I could.
And they're doing these fanny packs, too, down at Dock Sabo River. You buy a fanny pack. What is he giving away? Anything?
Something with his appetizers.
Oh, yeah. You get a free appetizer. There you go. Free appetizer.
Yeah, and then he's also got something else going on, too. I guess the best thing to do for this little project that they have going on is go on to Doc's Facebook page. And it's a half a page. We'd be here all day talking about it. But it's got all the different times and dates because they're doing some guest bartending. They're doing...
That's pretty fresh.
What else they got going on? Karaoke at the Painted Lady. Painted Lady's involved. Jameson's doing something down there with Painted Lady as well. So they got a bunch of great things going on. And this is one of the reasons we started Tight Lines and Tight Lines exists to this day is because the community is getting involved in doing this. And even like from the small little things like James has been doing for us for the last 5 years, 6 years, doing our podcasts and stuff. I mean, the first year, thousands of people went on and watched our video.
Hey, folks, this episode is brought to you by Manistee Firewood, LLC. And what a wonderful sponsor to have in this episode of the Manistee Local, because we are bleeding America today. And all Manistee Firewood wants to do, all my guy, Lance, wants to do is make camping great again. He established his firewood company back in 2008, and since then he has been an absolute machine when it comes to firewood. Man, is his wood good. He's got locations all over Manistee County. He's at 5 Blarney Castle gas stations in Manistee County and at the Instant Lunch. And if you're going towards Orchard Beach State Park, you could smell the sweet smells of Burger King in the air right there. The first house adjacent to Burger King's back door is a huge pile of some of the most glorious, dry, fire-ready wood in Manistee County. My man donates to Blessings in a Backpack and Tight Lines for Troops. He's a strong supporter of local businesses. He's also a veteran, which makes it even more perfect that he's a sponsor of this episode. Yeah, Manistee Firewood LLC is veteran-owned and operated. We're winning. We're checking all the boxes for this sponsorship, okay? Veteran-owned. Local boy. Doing it right. Like I said, his wood is hard and dry and ready for burning. Even if you're not going camping. Want to have a little crackle-lackle in the backyard? Manistee Firewood LLC has got you covered. Reach out to my boy at 231-690-1383. 231-690-1383. He'll deliver within 10 miles of the city limits of Manistee. Wild. You had too many beers? You're sitting around the campfire and need more firewood? Manistee Firewood LLC. My homeboy Lance has got you covered. You can check him out on Facebook at Manistee Firewood LLC or anywhere Americans are being American. Manistee Firewood LLC. Get some of that good wood. Make camping great again.
And it gets the word out there. So it's from the smallest little thing to the biggest, the biggest thing. And
Yeah.
this is great.
So if you want one of these fresh hats, go to Third Life. If you want one of these fanny packs, go to Doc's. If you want some of the koozies that we should probably fill up real quick with a tall boy. Oh. And just oddly enough, the fanny pack fits two tall boys
It fits
perfectly.
too? That's
perfectly, dude.
That's mint. Wow, look at that. I haven't had a tall boy in a while.
Yeah, well, you're going to have one now.
I guess so.
Giddy up. Good morning.
Whew.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I can't believe we're back doing this already.
Time flies. Well, when you're putting on an event, especially at that scale, I mean, you really never take a break.
You don't. We do. We actually do take a little bit of a break. We like to take the summer off. So our last meeting for Tight Lines is usually the end of May, beginning of June, and then we don't get back together until September. But when you're doing an event like this, people are always asking questions, so you're kind of always working. And as soon as the event's over, everybody wants to know, when is it going to be next year? When can I sign up? When can I do this? When can I do that? So, yeah, you're right. It never ends.
Right. That's always top of mind.
It is, and it's good, and it's so neat that this community has embraced it so well over all these years. God, what year are we on? We kind of stopped counting doing the annual thing when we had our 2-year hiatus there. So now it's just the 2023 Tight Lines for Troops. But I believe actual tournament years we're on 13, I want to say. So, it's come a long way in all those years.
So for those that are not familiar with Tight Lines, can you give a brief history? I know we do this every year, but I think it's important because there's going to be people out there that are going to watch or listen to this that don't know what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah. So Tight Lines was started by Bob Ginhart. Bob Ginhart is a veteran himself, and he was, we could still call him Captain Bob because he's still a fisherman, but he got the idea many years, over a decade ago. I want to give back to the veterans in Michigan, and how could I do this? And he, he's a big lake captain, so he said, I want to take a group of vets out to go fishing on the big lake because not a lot of people get that opportunity. Even just in Manistee here, you could say, hey, how many people have gone salmon fishing on the big lake? It's going to be a small amount of people because you got to have the equipment, you got to have this, you got to have that, and it's expensive.
Yeah.
So Bob got a small group of boat captains together. I want to say it was probably 4 or 5 boats and a handful of veterans, and said, "Come on, we're going to take you guys out on the lake, free of charge. You guys show up to my boat at 5 in the morning. We're going to get you out there and go fishing." So that's how this all started, and from there it just snowballed into what we have now. We have roughly every year between 250 and 300 and so veterans.
Wow.
All the only criteria that we have is you need to be from the state of Michigan because we want to keep it local to the state for many reasons, and one of them is just to give back to our communities. And if we started offering this, nationwide, it would be a full-time job for everybody, and we'd need 1 million boats and this and that. So it's nice to keep it local. And it's almost more than we can handle every year just with that amount. So we the next year it got a little bigger. And I don't know. It's just amazing how these veterans appreciate it so much, and they get so excited about it. And you can go on our website, and there's some great videos on there from over the years and some great testimonials. And I know we talk about this every year, and the best part of the event for me, there's a couple highlights of the event. It's meeting the older veterans.
Right.
Over the years I've met some amazing World War II veterans, Korean War veterans, Vietnam veterans, and even veterans our age and younger. But it's meeting those old timers. You know, I think about it when I was 18, 19, 20 years old. You know, I didn't think much about the old timers, and I had, you know, a couple uncles, and my dad was in the Korean War and World War II and stuff like that. But I had never really asked the questions, and never. I don't want to say I didn't care, but it just wasn't that. So over these last 7 years that I've been with Tight Lines, I've had that opportunity to talk to some of these guys and get their stories and watch them intermingle with other veterans, and it's amazing. I mean, you can't describe it in words. And then on Saturday, the two coolest things of the day are at this year to be the 20th. Yeah, Saturday morning the 20th at 6:30 a.m. at the pierheads. That's when we ship all these guys out onto the big lake. So you head down to First Street Beach. I recommend Fifth Avenue Pier if you're able, if the weather's decent, which we hope it is. I recommend walking out to the end of that pier on Fifth Avenue. It's amazing. James has been down there with me before. And all the boats congregate right off the pier heads there. The Coast Guard boat has a bugle player and a bagpipe player. So you get taps, and then Amazing Grace, and then there's a morning prayer, and then the Coast Guard releases all the boats. So you see 50, 60 huge charter boats just full tilt out onto the big lake.
It's pretty sick.
It's really cool. And, you know, you got the sun coming up behind you, and it's a special moment. And then at 12:30 is really special. Yeah. So this is a time when the community.
It's one of the illest things I've ever seen, dude.
It is. So 12:30, all those boats come back in and they all congregate right around noon. I suggest last year we had bad weather kind of come in and it got really rough. So we sent the boats up the channel at noon versus 12:30 just because we had some guys starting to get seasick, and we don't want these veterans to have a bad experience. So we sent them up at noon, but they congregate around noon, and then 12:30 they start heading up the channel, and they're led, if possible, if they don't have another call, by the Coast Guard helicopter. So you know everyone's looking up like, where's the helicopter, and then you start to hear it coming in from the north because they usually come down from Traverse.
Here we come, dude.
I mean, it just gets you going. You know, it's just like, oh. And then you look to the east, and all you see lined up on both sides of the Manistee Channel are American flags. Yeah. And hundreds, if not thousands, of people are lined up from First Street Beach all the way down through downtown, the Riverwalk, on top of the bridges and everything.
Yeah.
And they're welcoming home these veterans. And a lot of these guys have never had that.
Especially some of the Vietnam vets.
Yeah. And even, you know, the World War II vets, we still have, I believe we still have one or two World War II vets we're going to have out with us this year. A couple of Korean War vets. But now the old G's are Vietnam vets. And, I mean, God, that's been 40-some years since Vietnam ended. And it's sad that some of these guys are just getting that first welcome home. But it's our honor to be able to give that to them. And if it wasn't for Manistee, they wouldn't be getting that, because it's not the small group of people from Tight Lines that are giving it to them. It's all the community that says, hey, we're going out to the river that day. We're going down to First Street Beach or Fifth Avenue. And that they're the ones giving it. And a small community, you know, that's what small communities are for. And they don't know these people, and the veterans don't know these people. But, I mean, that just goes to show how living in a small community and putting on an event like this, you know, it takes a village to do this, and the village really comes out. So, you know, it's a proud moment for Manistee.
Yeah.
So it's pretty neat. And that's, like I said, that's going to be May 20th at 12:30. If you get there around noon, there'll be a couple different groups of people handing out American flags. So if you want to bring your own flag, you can, but they hand out full-size American flags. Usually one of the radio stations is there, and they're blaring patriotic music all day long, or for that time period, and it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's a pretty neat thing. So,
So what happens after the fishing's done?
Well, the fishing's done. There's a lot of beer drinking and congregating, but we get the guys back to Sings Marina. They're usually back there about 1 o'clock. Get the boats, all the fish offloaded, the coolers offloaded, and then we ship those all the way back down to First Street Beach Cleaning Station where they do the weigh-in and the cleaning. And all that fish, all the fish that's caught that day gets boxed up into these cool little cooler packs. So when the veterans are done at the end of the day there, everybody gets to take home a box of fish. So that's pretty neat. And while that's going on, we get the veterans over to the Ironworks building. And over there, we have a luncheon for them. And then we do the award ceremony. And we also have some like raffles and
now is this
stuff like this.
Is that part open to the public? You had to buy tickets?
No, that's not part of the public.
I always forget that. So that is just for the vets.
That's
and
just
like
for
their
the
family?
veterans and their families or their caregivers. Yep. And then so that's not open to the public.
Mm-hmm.
I would love for it to be someday, but there's just nowhere big enough in Manistee that we could do this where we could get the public in and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I kind of envy you for having the ability to mingle with these just wonderful humans. There's as you know, being a vet, a lot of times conversations that you want to have, you don't have because you're not talking to somebody who's a vet, and you get an opportunity to share some stories and have some conversations that you probably wouldn't have with somebody who's
definitely
not a veteran or experienced the things that we have or these people, obviously, especially in some of these wars like World War I. You've got a couple guys there that those stories are pretty impactful, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, and it's neat because it gives them a chance to, you go, like, say you go to the VFW, it's usually a bunch of older guys.
Yeah,
that's their hang. And you'll get a few younger guys in here or there, but usually they're just kind of in their small groups and stuff like that. Or, you go to a Memorial Day parade and you're there and you do your thing and then you leave. But this is really, it's great because all these guys, one of the cool things we do too is we don't let the veterans pick who they're going on a boat with.
Yeah, I like this.
So we kind of sneak this in there to make them meet new people and make new friends and hear new stories, because all the time we get, it'd be like, hey, me and James, we want to go on the same boat together. Well, I see James all the time. Why the hell do I want to go on the same boat with him? It's like, so, but some people want to go with their friends, and I get it, to make the memories, but we mix it all up, and we keep our records from year to year to year, so we're not getting these same guys on a boat. And then you talk to those guys that wanted to go with their buddy, and they're like, oh, this is amazing. Thank you so much. Like, I got my new friend Randy and Andy and Tom now. And, one could be, still an active duty service member. One could be from World War II. One could be from Vietnam. So those 3-4 guys are all sharing completely different generations of the military and their experiences, whether they went to war or not, or what they've, like you said, what they have going on in their life now.
Right.
So we're making these lifelong connections for these guys that, when they first got there, they figured they were just going to go out fishing and catch some fish and drink some beer and hang out with people. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Now the charter fishermen, the boats that come and do this, it's all volunteer?
Yes, it's all volunteer. All of our charter boat captains, they volunteer their time. Their crew volunteers their time. They provide their own fuel. They provide the fishermen with anything and everything they need. So these vets coming, they don't have to pay for anything out of pocket. We don't like to say it's free because it's not free, because of all of our sponsors and all the volunteers and all of that.
Dude, events cost a lot of money.
Events cost a lot of money. So we it's not a free tournament or it's not a free fishing trip. But for these veterans, they don't pay anything out of pocket.
Yeah.
We go as far as to getting them a gas card if they need a little help with their fuel coming up to Manistee. We got some veterans that are coming from, Detroit area or from the UP. We get them a hotel room. You know, it's all on Tightline's tab, and really it's not Tightline's tab, it's the community's tab. All of our sponsors and donors and stuff like that, they're all paying for this and wanting this and wanting these veterans to come up and experience this. So it's pretty special.
When COVID went down and we couldn't have it for the couple of years, I mean, it was impactful. People felt it.
It was. And last year we had a great turnout. It was a little windy, so we didn't have as many people down on the Riverwalk and everything like that. And I think COVID and us having to cancel Tightlines those 2 years was probably harder on us board members than anything, because we were the ones who had to make that decision. Like, you know, the first year it was like, okay, we're not doing this.
Sure.
And then the second year, when everything was kind of like, well, we could do it, we couldn't do it, we could do it, we couldn't do it. And all the time, all the planning and time and all that going into it, it's like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And it's not like, you know, the week before we could say we're doing Tightlines, you know. So it was tough on us making that decision. And, you know, you want to go with your heart and be like, screw it, we're going to do this. But then you have to remember, hey, we got to look out for these guys and these older veterans and anyone, because we don't want to get anybody sick and then everyone being like, Tightlines got us sick type thing, you know? Yeah. So we waited the 2 years out, and during those 2 years, though, the veterans, they were, you know, hitting us up all the time. Hey, when we doing it? And then, you know, when we were able to come back after COVID, we just got flooded with emails and registration forms and all that. So everybody was ready to come back. So,
how do you get the word out to veterans? I've always wanted to ask you that.
So we do. We used to do a lot of going to like different trade shows and gun shows and stuff like that. In the beginning, a lot of guerrilla marketing and footwork. But now, you know, and that obviously worked quite well, because now we don't really have to push so much. It's kind of the veteran community in Michigan knows about it.
Right.
And they come to us. You know, we still do our big Facebook blasts, and we have our flyers around town, actually around the state. We send them different places. A lot of the different veteran clubs and organizations get them and stuff like that. But for the most part, it kind of takes care of itself. All those guys are waiting for, you know, November to start getting their sheets into us. So, yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yeah. What's one of the best stories you've got, or most memorable moments? I'm sure you've got quite a few.
Oh, man.
You told me one last year about a gentleman that was kind of like super shy and skittish and didn't want to be around anybody, and then went out on the boat and came back and ended up having one hell of a time. Yeah,
there's a lot. It's kind of neat to see, because I like on Friday the 19th is when all the veterans come down to the Ironworks building to register, meet their boat teams, meet their boat captains. We also feed them that night as well, and they get their little goodie bags, because they all get T-shirt and like all these cool little souvenirs and stuff like that in their bag. So it's kind of neat to watch the veterans come in and see how they're coming in. Because, you know, some guys are coming in and they're like, they're hooting and hollering, and it's, you know, it's like the Lions just won the Super Bowl. Like, to them, you know, that's how excited they are.
It's so mint.
Yeah, you know, and they're, you know, yelling across the room to each other because they knew each other from years before. Or, you know, they're like, you know, because they're going to be on a different boat, so they're like, oh, we're going to kick your butt this year.
Yeah, I love it.
Stuff like that. And then you get the other guys that are coming in that night, and that's kind of how I would be. I'm a little, you know, I'm a kind of a wallflower. I stand back and just kind of see what's going on, and then I'll start getting a little more comfortable, and then I like to watch those guys. Yeah, a couple of PBRs. And then you see these guys, they, you know, that first day, they're kind of like the kid at the dance standing along the wall. Yeah. And they come back off of that boat, and you wouldn't even know it's the same man or woman. Like, you know, they're good. Then they're the ones coming in hooting and hollering like the Lions won the Super Bowl, because, you know, they caught a fish, and it could just be a little fish, but they're so excited and they're telling their stories. And, you know, by Saturday night by 5:30, it's a big party in there. You know, there's really none of that shyness or, you know, kind of like, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. It's like they don't want it to end. So,
Do you have to be a foreign war vet or deployed vet to do this?
Nope. You can still be active duty. We don't get a lot of those guys because they like to leave it up to the veterans that have done their time and gotten out. But no, you could serve anytime, wartime, peacetime, any branch of the service. You're more than welcome. Yeah, you're more than welcome to come in and apply. We have, and we have a couple different categories of the fishing too. That we've got the big lake boats that go out. We've got the river boats, which is usually about 6 to 8 of the river boats go up the big Manistee. Last year we added a Manistee Lake or a pan fishing group to it because there were some people that expressed interest and just wanted to go out and do some pan
fun
fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and last year I actually talked to a couple of the captains that took the guys out on Manistee Lake. And I was like, how'd it go? Because I was kind of interested. I was like, pan fishing, kind of boring, whatever. And they're like, oh, my God, our people had the most fun in their life.
Yeah.
So I went over to the table. I was like, hey, how'd you guys enjoy fishing on Manistee Lake? Oh, it was so awesome. You know, our captain, we went around the lake, and he showed us all the plants and took us by the Coast Guard boat and all that stuff. They're like, we caught some fish. It was awesome. And a couple of those people had been out on the big lake before, and they're like, we had more fun out on the little lake than we did the big lake. You know, so it's pretty cool. And then we do Tippy Dam. We send a dial-a-ride bus up there with some guys that want to go up there and fish Tippy Dam. So if you get seasick or you're afraid of the big lake, there's other opportunities.
Dude, I didn't realize that you did that.
Yeah.
I feel like you've told me that before, but it's always been like the big lake is where all the action is.
That's kind of where all the
send-off.
Yeah, and we get a few guys that'll fish the piers, off the piers and stuff like that. And a lot of those guys are guys that have been on the boats before and they want to open up the spaces because the way we work the boats and pick the veterans for the boats is obviously World War II, you're going to get on a boat. Korean War, you're going to get on a boat. And then once we get to Vietnam, then we start picking and choosing by if they have a Purple Heart or any other distinguished medal that they've let us know and that they have, and then we kind of want to get those guys on there. And then we start going through our list of like, okay, what veterans have been on the big boats before, who hasn't, because we want to keep that fresh because we want to keep people's interest in and coming back. So, you know, just because last year you didn't get on a big boat doesn't mean this year you're not going to if you're, say, a 24-year-old veteran. Hey, it might be your turn. So, you know, don't get discouraged by it, and you'll get on that big boat and be able to catch some of them big hogs out there on a big lake. So, how
does it look for a disabled vet? Like how a vet that can't walk, for example. Like how are we ensuring that they can get on the boat? And
doesn't matter to us. We get you on that boat. We have tons of volunteers, and we in the morning there, we've gotten guys on the boats that are in like the full electric wheelchair. You know, we got 5, 6, 7, 8 strong guys on each side of the boat.
We make that shit happen.
And we make that shit happen. You're going out on that lake. So
I love it.
So whether it's a small disability or you're a paraplegic, we'll get you on that boat. And we do have a couple of boats that we kind of save for that have a little bit more space in them, a little bit lower to the docks and stuff like that. But we'll get you on there, and we'll get you catching fish. So, there's no limits to it. So,
I love how excited you get about this.
Oh, it's great! It's so much fun.
I absolutely love it. This is the kind of attitude and spirit that you like to see, that I love to see in volunteering and people that give back and put on events and stuff like that, because it's so important.
It is, and it's not hard. That's one of my biggest gripes is, you're always hearing people like, oh, we don't have this, we don't do this, we can't do this, we can't do that. And the first question I asked them was, well, have you helped out in the community? Have you volunteered? Well, no, I don't have enough time. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm like, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
I work swing shifts at a factory.
Yeah, dude. You're logging them hours.
Every week I'm on a different schedule. I love to ride my motorcycle. Yeah. I love going out of town. I love doing all this stuff. I make time. You can make time. Even as I was driving down here today, I took the highway down, and I'm looking along the edges of the highway, and I'm like, ooh, Blossom Boulevard's going to be coming up soon. Yep. And that's one of my, I used to volunteer and go plant flowers. I haven't done it in a while. But I always love seeing all the people out there and all the kids out there because they bring them from the schools.
Yeah, we did that shit when we were kids.
Yeah, we did that when we were kids, and I probably griped about it then, but I'm like, ooh, Blossom Boulevard's coming. It's spring. It's gonna be springtime. Tight Lines is coming. There's all this other cool stuff happening. So, it's like get out there, and do it, and it'll come to the community. It's not gonna come overnight.
No.
It might not even come next year, but it'll come.
Yeah, I mean the work that you guys put into this event. Tight Lines is a signature event for Manistee County.
Oh, definitely.
And it's becoming, a focused event for Michigan for sure.
Oh,
people are talking about it around the state, which is pretty sick, dude.
Yeah, it is.
And it's the volunteers that you guys have, not just within the organization and on the board, but I mean these guys that own charter boats that are, it's a lot of money to take a boat out onto the lake. So. Yeah, shout out to them guys for donating their time and their equipment, and
it's huge. And our volunteers are really the ones that get us through this event.
Yeah.
Every year we need about 300-400 volunteers.
I mean,
yeah. So over the years we've had probably close to 4,000 people volunteering for us. And the way we have it set up is, when you think of volunteering, it's like, oh, I got to volunteer all day Saturday.
Yeah.
That's how people just kind of get it in their head when you volunteer for something. Not at Tight Lines. So we have 3 days where we need our volunteers. We need volunteers on Thursday night at the Ironworks building to help do some setup, and that's like a 2-hour window. Friday we need some volunteers, usually late morning through early evening, and that's all at the Ironworks building. And that's helping getting the food out and kind of wrangling the veterans and keeping them in line and getting them through the lines and all that kind of thing. And then Saturday is where we really need our volunteers. And that starts at 4 a.m, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is where we really need the people." Is at 4 a.m, and it's only for a couple hours.
Yeah.
So maybe go home from Stu's Pub or the Painted Lady a little bit earlier that night and come on down and help out. But that's our prime time because we have all these veterans coming in about between like 5 and 5:30. We have all these dial-a-ride buses bringing our veterans in. And this is where we need the people, our volunteers, helping us wrangle all those guys because they're just as tired as we are.
Yeah.
And they're just as excited as we are because they're getting ready to go out on the boat. So that's where we really need our core group of people to come down, help get these guys situated. We'll give you a cup of coffee, a couple donuts. We'll keep you moving for those 2 hours until those boats pull out of Sings about 6 o'clock. And then we can always use volunteers when they're coming back in at 12:30, 1 o'clock, help get those fish coolers off, help get the veterans off, get them pointed in the right direction. And you can go online onto tightlinesfortroops.com. There's a volunteer section, and you can pick what time you want to work, what job you want to work in, and it shows only the open availabilities. So, at this point in the game, there's not going to be as many as there was a month or two ago, but there's still that chance for you to come out. And like I said, you only got to come out for an hour or two.
It's probably plenty at 4 a.m.
Yeah, 4 a.m. tough. But it's cool. It's actually a good time to come down there because then you get to see these guys are so excited they're going out on the boat,
And, I mean, I can say it, and I know that you've just basically said it, too, with the volunteers, how appreciate, the amount of appreciation that people that put on events have for volunteers. You see a lot of the same volunteers because there are just some that come to all the events that want to try to do a little bit of something for everybody. And, if you don't feel just a little bit of extra beat in your heart from volunteering, I mean.
Yeah, and we have volunteers. We have veterans that volunteer that once was one of our veterans fishermen. They went out, they did their thing, they experienced it, and they said, hey, well, I'm going to come back next year and volunteer.
That's awesome.
Or we've had veterans that went out and fished with us and, couldn't come the next year, but they sent us a donation check in the mail and said, hey, last year was great, I can't make it this year. Here's X amount of dollars to get another veteran out on that boat. So
What
it's
do you have an idea of how much it costs to put a veteran on a boat? That'd be a great number to know.
It would be
just
a
so that
good
you
number
can tell
to
people,
know.
like, this is how much it actually
I know
costs
for us each year, our budgets for putting this whole event on is around $50,000-$60,000.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's. I mean, if you think about a charter trip, if you were to go down and book a charter trip, you're looking at what for a half day, $400-$500.
I mean, maybe
for
more
the boat.
now. I don't know.
Maybe more now.
Yeah.
So you got 4 or 5 guys on there. Just alone, the fishing is $100 a guy.
Yep.
And then we're giving them a T-shirt and we're feeding them twice, and some of the guys were helping out with their hotels and stuff. I guess maybe
Well, I can see
$400,
where the 50, yeah,
$350, $400 a veteran to
For
get
sure.
out there.
yeah. For
You know,
sure.
that's just that. Don't take my word for that number, but it's not cheap. I know on our sponsorship form, we have a veterans, like we have it listed out. You know, you can be a veteran sponsor, a gold, platinum, all the different things, and the veteran sponsor is $250. So, you know, I guess maybe on average it's probably about $250.
And you're still taking sponsorships.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
sponsor.
And
We take
and
sponsorships.
that's on the website.
Yep, year round. Yep, it could be $1, it could be $1 million. We are very thankful and very grateful for any donation because it all helps. We're a 401c nonprofit. Nobody on the board is paid. We're all completely volunteer basis, and yeah, all the money it goes to get these guys out fishing, and then after we pay all of our bills each year, we pick 3. Different veteran organizations in the state of Michigan, and we write a check to them. And that check is usually pretty good. It's
I mean,
it's in the
gonna be-
thousands of dollars.
Sure.
So
you got to save a little money for next year.
we do.
Yep.
We save a little for next year, but we want to give back to not only our veterans but to our veterans organization. So each year we pick 3 of them and try to do it different every year. And we've had some repeat donations, and but we keep it local. We keep it in the state.
Yeah,
So
that's sick.
it is. It's pretty neat. So yeah, volunteers, and sponsorship. We're always looking for sponsors at any level. But volunteers is the big thing. So, and it's too late now, but if there's any veterans that are seeing this for the first time or hearing about this for the first time, keep your eyes out on the Tight Lines for Troops, either Facebook page or on the website, for when registration opens up for next year, and get your registration in. So,
And I'll put all these links in the show notes so everybody's going to be able to see them, click them, and do it.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot going on. This, we're about a month out, so we got a lot of neat stuff going on. We, like James mentioned earlier, we got these 3 local businesses putting stuff on. Myself and Dave Shearer are going to make a guest appearance at Stu's Pub this year. We're going to do a little guest bartending. I don't have the date yet, but it'll probably be the Friday before Tight Lines, which would be the
19th.
Not the 19th. It'll be the weekend before.
Oh, gotcha.
But we'll get that going out, and John Horkel over at Stu's Pub is going to match whatever tips we get. So we'll do a little push for that to get people to come down, and
Dave will take his shirt off.
I'm sure he will. Yeah, we're kind of excited about that because we haven't done the guest bartending in a while. We used to do it, a few years ago for Stop Out Cancer and a few other things. We did it at TJ's, and we did it over at the time. What was it, 522 McMahon? I can't remember what that place was called, but we did really good. It's a lot of fun. So we're gonna come out of retirement and do some guest bartending and raise a little money for Tight Lines. So, and even like businesses out there, like Docs and Jay Carlett and Third Life, like they came up with this on their own.
Yep.
So it's awesome that they did that, and any business can do that. In the past, we've had a group of guys put together a golf tournament. Some people did some stuff at the Ramsdale. So, if you come up with an idea, get a hold of us and say, hey, we want to do this. But, are you guys cool with this? 99% of the time we're going to say yes. And then we'll get you our link to the logo and stuff like that and go for it. We don't have time to do this stuff, so it's great that these places in the community are doing this for us and giving us that money for that to get these veterans out on the boats, because that's what it's all about.
May 20th?
May 20th, yep, 19th and 20th. Nothing really going on too exciting the 19th, minus getting these guys into town. You'll start seeing the banners up and stuff like that. But May 20th is the day. So 6:30 in the morning if you're an early riser. Stand out on the end of Fifth Avenue Pier, and it'll be a very memorable moment. Probably a couple tears in your eyes because it's hard to hold them back. And 12:30, line that channel up, and there'll definitely be tears in the eyes.
Hell yeah, dude.
So,
let's do it. Thanks for coming
man.
on. Cheers.